the semimembranosus, what we want to do, because it is closest to the midline, what we want to do is place the ankles outside of the knees. By placing the ankles outside of the knees, what's going to happen is we are going to...
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with TV Fork, and today I'm going to be demonstrating some hamstring exercises for you for each of the different hamstring muscles. With regard to the hamstring muscles, I'm not going to get too into detail into the anatomy because I already did that in another video, my 10 years of sciatica gone. I'm going to include that right up over here if you haven't seen it. But with regard to the hamstrings, just a quick overview of what exactly they do. The hamstrings, most of them, the semimembranosus, tendinosus, and the long head of the biceps femoris are going to attach from the ischial tuberosity, and then the short head of the biceps femoris is going to attach at the linea aspera, and they are all going to attach to the tibia and fibula in that region. For a more detailed analysis, again, you can check out that video, but because they cross on the posterior aspect of the body, we know that it's going to have some action at the hip and the knee. Specifically, because it crosses the hip joint and the knee joint, it's going to be involved in hip extension and also knee flexion. So with regard to the hamstring muscles, again, we have three different hamstring muscles. We have the semimembranosus, which is going to be the most medial of the hamstring muscles. Then we have the semitendinosus, which is going to be right down the middle. And then finally, we have the biceps femoris, which is going to be the most lateral of the hamstring muscles. But depending on how exactly we play with the levels of internal rotation and external rotation, we can target different fibers. With regard to this first variation right over here, this is going to be for the semimembranosus. And for the semimembranosus, what we want to do, because it is closest to the midline, what we want to do is place the ankles outside of the knees. By placing the ankles outside of the knees, what's going to happen is we are going to place a lot more tension on the fibers of the semimembranosus, and this is going to give us a little bit more recruitment of that actual muscle. If you've ever seen a Nordic Curl, this is essentially a Nordic Curl in three different positions. This first position, ankles are outside of the knees. We want to make sure that Kat maintains retroversion of the pelvis, so she's going to tuck her pelvis underneath her. The reason we are doing that, again, because the hamstrings attach to the ischial tuberosities, once the hamstrings contract, that is going to bring the pelvis into retroversion. So by bringing the pelvis into retroversion, we are activating the hamstring muscles. Then she's going to maintain a straight spine, so from her knee all the way up to her ear, we want a nice straight line. She's going to keep her chin tucked in, and then push the crown of the head up toward the ceiling. This is the first variation for the semimembranosus, and what we are going to do right now, I'm going to put my hands just above her Achilles, and I'm going to apply a downward pressure just to keep her nice and stable, and then Kat is going to hinge forward as far as she can without losing the retroversion of the pelvis and without going into hip flexion. And once she can no longer go any farther, she is going to come back up. With regard to this exercise, this is going to be the most difficult for most people. Most people are going to be really, really strong in their semimembranosus. So if you're not able to go all the way down to the ground, that's not a problem, because with regard to this exercise, just go as far as you can. Once you find that it gets a little bit stronger, you're able to get a little bit lower, continue to just go lower and lower and lower. The main goal with this one is to eventually be able to get down to the ground. But if you can't do that, don't worry. Don't try to get as low as possible by sacrificing form. Maintain all of those components. So the ankles are outside, maintain retroversion of the pelvis, flat spine, and the ears in one straight line all the way down to the knee. That's for the semimembranosus. And all of these, one more quick note, all of these are with the proximal fibers of the semimembranosus. So we are targeting the superior fibers of the semimembranosus, tendinosus, and the biceps femoris. The next variation, this is going to be for the semitendinosus. For the semitendinosus, because it's straight down the middle, what we want to do is place the ankles in line with the knees. So Kat is going to just line up her knees with her ankles. And for this one, everything else is exactly the same. So we want to maintain retroversion of the pelvis, nice flat spine, chin tucked in, crown of the head up. And Kat is going to go ahead and just do the same thing. She's going to hinge from the knees forward without losing the retroversion of the pelvis and without losing the flatness in the lumbar spine. And that was the second variation for the semitendinosus fibers. Next, if we want to target the biceps femoris, with regard to the biceps femoris, this is the most lateral one of the hamstring group. So because it's the most lateral, if we bring the femur into external rotation by bringing the ankles toward each other, that is going to place more tension on the lateral aspect of the femur, and this is going to target more of the biceps femoris fibers. So this one right over here is the third variation. The ankles are together, everything else is the same, retroversion of the pelvis, flat spine, chin tucked in, crown of the head up. And this exercise is targeting the proximal fibers of the biceps femoris. We're going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to apply a downward pressure.
And cat is just going to hinge as far as she can without losing the retroversion or losing the flat spine. And that was the third variation for the different hamstring exercise. So these exercises right over here, 3 different versions. If we want to target semimembranosus, ankles are outside of the knees. If we want to target the semitendinosus, the ankles are in line with the knees. And if we want to target the biceps femoris, the ankles are going to be close together inside of the knees. This is for the proximal fibers, so the superior aspect of all of those different muscles. And one thing worth noting with these exercises, if you're like me and you have absolutely no friends whatsoever, what you can do is find a way to hook your ankles under something. You could either place some Olympic weights on a bar and you can hook your ankles underneath a barbell, or if you have something like a Scott curl, you can place your ankles underneath that. If you have a couch that's high enough, you can place your ankles under that. Find something to hook your ankles underneath. If you do have a partner, that's going to be great because it's going to be a lot more comfortable, but those are a few different modifications that you can make if you don't have anybody to hold your ankles down. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to make more of these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.